everybody. This is Tim Flood back with you for the next episode of Tim Talk. Today is 4th of July, 2026, Saturday. It's a Saturday, a lot going on around the nation. Got some riots out in LA. People running around with Mexican flags, burning American flags. Mayor told the police to stand down. I guess they just, and I just don't get these liberal, democratic, socialist mayors. President Trump ended up having to send in 4,000 troops, National Guard troops, and he's basically like stuck his middle finger up to the mayor of LA. I think it's hilarious. I'm tired of these liberal democratic mayors letting these fascist left-wing lunatics burn all the cities to the ground. Kind of like, Kamala Harris's running mate, Tim Walz, I think was his name. Like he did in Minneapolis a couple years back. And his stupid wife was so crazy. She said, I leaned back and relaxed and opened my window and just enjoyed the aroma of the city burning. Like, what kind of a quackpot is that? I don't get it. Why can't you take care of the place that you live? Why can't you protect it instead of destroy it? Why can't you build it up instead of burning it down? There's something wrong mentally with people. Mentally. I think they've got some kind of crossed wire or screws loose or something up there. I'm all for live and let live, but there comes a point. There's just to a point when destruction and looting and all that crap starts. You've taken it too far. Burning cities is taking it too far. I'm all for peaceful protest, freedom of speech, but also with freedom of speech, you have to remember, you have to be careful. You can say whatever you want, but you gotta be prepared to face the consequences. And I'm not talking about criminally, because it's not a crime. I'm talking about the stigma that comes from what you say. And if you can't handle it, then don't say it. If you want to say it and you think you can handle the backlash, I'm all for it. I'll listen. I'll listen to anything or anybody. Of course, the socialist, I don't even want to say socialist, the communist mayor of New York City has said that the public can't attend the ball dropping for the 250th anniversary. Banning them from doing that. He shouldn't do that. I mean, I don't think they'll be able to stop anybody that wants to go down there. I think it's going to be a wash. I think that guy's going to You're going to see that his words hold no meaning to the masses, to the people that love their city and want to celebrate the birthday of this country. No, it's nothing like it was when it first began. The far cry from that. And it's a shame. It's a shame, but all great dynasties they all fall. And they all fall by their own corruption and greed. It's just the way it is. That's what brings them down. That's what brings them all down. More. You know. But I digress. So how's everybody's week been? Weekend, mine's been pretty good, I guess. Still keeping up the exercising, and I talked to God today, and I talked to my son in paradise today. I cried. I cry every day for him. Over him, I guess. I miss him. He is my best friend. And I know I'm never going to see him again on this side of the veil. And that's what hurts the most, I think. Sorry, I've got a runny nose and it's driving me bonkers here. Started my antibiotic for this folliculitis, so within 4 or 5 days it should be clearing up. They also gave me a facial cleanser to use, 5% benzoyl peroxide, not the hydrogen peroxide, benzoyl peroxide. And I've used it before, and it does help just a little bit. Don't get rid of it. Don't make it go away, but it improves it. I think it just kind of holds it at bay. But the tretinoin, I got to call the doctor on Monday and get on their behinds and have them get that pre-auth wrote up and sent over to the insurance company. I've tried every cream in the book. None of them would work, but they say this one will. It's fairly new. I know that's why the insurance company don't want to cover it, because it's probably fairly expensive, but we pay premiums. That's why we what insurance is for. So do what you're gonna do. So yeah, let's see what else. I've been I was talking to God today, and I was talking about Paul, and how a lot of people are split on Paul and his. Some people think he really wasn't called, that he was pretending or whatnot, but I don't believe that. Even the Bible says that Peter and I think James met with Paul several times, and they were they were acquainted and they knew that Paul had been called. So I really don't think there's any any uh, any evidence that he wasn't. There's evidence beyond all, beyond, you know, belief that he was. And I was just telling God that, I was telling God to thank you for bringing Paul to be to be a deliverer of the gospel to the Gentiles. Because if you've ever noticed in the way that he writes, in the way that he explains things, it's so beautifully done. And I mean, it's like, I don't know. It's really hard to explain, but I really, really love that Paul's books, even over the Gospels. I know that everybody, the Gospels, blah, 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 but the Gospels, all four of the Gospels, they have contradictory things in them to the other Gospels. So, although they're good, I will say that I love them. I love reading them. Why the discrepancy between one and the other? I never understood that. Which in the broad spectrum of things, it doesn't really matter, because the work's already complete, the work's already finished, and, God is all in all again, and Christ, under a new name, has become subject unto the Father again. And the New Jerusalem is in heaven, and the marriage supper happened, and there's no more sin. The grave can't hold a soul anymore. As soon as we die, our body goes into the grave, but our soul goes straight to heaven. So, and then what I'm saying, well, guess what I'm saying is, in the grand scheme of things, none of it really matters. But I'm such a history buff that I like to know and study. The Bible it was not written to us, but it is important. It's an important book, so that we should read, because it shows the history of the people of our God, and of Christ, the Son of God, who sacrificed his own life to save us all. So it's good that we know that. We don't have to, but I think it's important. I think it's something that, if people really, and I say this every time I talk about it, I understand that the Bible is hard to understand. But if you read it enough and study it enough, and if you read regular history outside of religion, or outside of religious history, just regular world history, or, even just the history of that area, and then you read without any kind of preconceived facts, if you will, any kind of preconceived notions on, you just clear your mind from all the mess and all the chaos and confusion that religious leaders and the powerful men of the past, since Christ died, have said and asked us to believe when they themselves were very corrupt and not looking out for you and I, the common people. For the longest time, it stayed written in a language that few could read. And I think it stayed that way until maybe maybe it was the 1500s. I can't remember. My memory is not what it used to be. And I hate that. But now I know why. It's because it's one of the byproducts of losing a child, being a bereaved parent. Because it's so traumatic and it's so unnatural that it just rewires your brain and you forget things. You're not going to be who you were before. But that's what I did after Luke passed on to heaven. I started talking to God and reading the Bible without any kind of I didn't say, oh, I know this, I've been told this. I went in with a clean slate, man. Clean slate. Read it with a clear mind. No kind of indoctrination or brainwash from the I know it's not pagan, but that's the best word. The pagan Christianity system of today, of the past 2,000 years, because it's not the real Christianity. The real Christianity died when Christ returned and finished his work. And when the marriage separated, we're under the new covenant now. The new covenant. We're in the new earth, the new heaven with the new Jerusalem. The 12 disciples, 12 are the 12 judges of the 12 tribes in the New Jerusalem. We talk straight to God now. We don't need a mediator because our accuser, our prosecutor, Satan, is defeated. So we don't need anyone to. And sin is gone. Sin is a thing of the past. And people say, no, you can still sin. You just gotta repent. No, you don't. Sin is gone. He died on the cross. He became sin. That's what Paul says. He became sin to save us. And not just one, for all. And I know how much that pisses off so many people that are in this Christian world and believe this stuff that they've been taught since they were little. They just don't know any better. People just don't know any better. And I find that sad. I find it sad because they're so confident and so sure that they refuse to consider an alternative. And people will say, well, it's because their faith is strong. No, you can't blame that on faith. If you're not talking directly to God and getting answers from Him, if you're not reading that word yourself, your faith is not strong in God. Your faith is strong in whoever is standing up there at the pulpit. That's not good. That's following a man, a flesh and blood man, and that's just as corrupt as you are, because we all are. None of us deserve to be saved and in heaven with God, but just like when our children do wrong, we don't throw them in a fiery lake to burn for all eternity because they didn't listen to us. No, we forgive them again and 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 again. And that's what God does. That's what Jesus said. No, I tell you, you forgive them 70 times 7. And that is not literal. It's not 490 times you forgive somebody. It means you keep forgiving. So just read it. Read it. Talk to God. Ask Him questions. He will answer you. Probably not in the way that you think. He may speak directly to you. I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard His voice, but I could be wrong too. Maybe I did. Maybe I thought it was just my inner voice talking to me. Who knows? But I will tell you this. My love for God is, I love God more than I love anything or anyone. He's number one in my life. That's just the way it is. If it was any other way, it would not be good. Things would not be good. Things would just be all out of sorts. And my love for Him will never be broken. Never. Just like Job. Do whatever you want to me. I'm still going to love God, and I'm still going to praise Him. If I get sick and feel like I'm going to die, it just means I'm going home. And I'm going home to see my Father in heaven and to see my Son and to meet His Son with His new name and to meet Paul and to meet all the disciples and all my family that's gone on before me. Because I surrendered all of my hope, my faith, and my love and my trust in my life unto God. And I told him, and they will remain in him for all eternity. And my love for him will never be broken. It'll never die. It'll never lessen. It will only get stronger. And my faith is so strong right now, you can't even bend it. Can't even bend it. Because I don't talk to other men. I don't get my information from other men from this place. I go straight to him. I go straight to my Father. And he tells me, he gives me signs. He tells me whether I'm right or I'm wrong. And I have been wrong a few times. And he's let me know that. And that's fine. I would rather know than go on thinking, thinking in the wrong way. Like I said, it don't really mean a whole lot, because it does, but it doesn't. Personally, for me, it means everything, because I love him. He is my Father, my Creator, my ruler. He is my God. He is my protector. He is my light in the darkness. He is my friend in my loneliness. And he brings me peace when I'm in distress and in turmoil and in despair. And I can tell you that for a fact, because there have been multitude of times over the last year and 7 months that I was inconsolable. I could not stop crying. And all I asked the Father for was to lay his hands on me and to bring me peace enough so I could get some rest. He said, send one of your angels, send one of your messengers. Just put your arms around me if that's what you want to do. Just lay your hand on me. I just need the peace. And it happened every time, within seconds, with under a minute. And I'm here to tell you, I know that it was the Heavenly Father. He is. He is. He is love. He just wants to be loved by his children. Sometimes we take him for granted. Even I do. And he knows that. And he even took that into consideration. But he still saved us all. Because I would say I would die for my own children. And maybe, in a way, since he literally couldn't, that's probably why he sent his son. And he didn't ask his son. His son volunteered. Bet y'all didn't know that, did you? Can't remember which book it's in. It may even be in one of the Apocrypha books. But the conversation goes that God and Christ are maybe some of the archangels, I can't remember, are all sitting around. I mean, I'm putting this in layman terms, so I don't know how it actually went down, but God says the only way, the only way to reconcile this is to have a sinless sacrifice. But who do I send? Who can I send to do this? It's like he didn't want to have to send anybody. And Christ looked at him and said, "Here am I, send me." Oh, oh, that decision had to. Oh, I couldn't imagine. I just love God so much. And back to Paul, I was telling God this morning, I really, really love Paul and the way he wrote and all that. And I think he was, and Jesus knew that what he was doing when he picked Paul. And, Paul's writings aren't always straightforward. Sometimes they take a loop. He don't go straight from here to here. You have to read into he kind of lines it out how things would happen if Christ hadn't done what he did and the Father done what he did. But then he comes back and explains how since they did what they did, then we're all okay. And you see that more than once in his writings, how he does that and how it's just so elegant and you know and like I said earlier too, the Gospels are too. They're good. They're great. I mean, they're fantastic. But more than anything, I know for sure there's been a consensus that Mark, the last few verses, maybe even chapter of Mark was added. It wasn't actually a part of the original manuscript. It was just added. I don't know. And I think there are a lot of additions, and I think there were a lot of subtractions from the Gospels because it's the story of Christ's life and his ministry. And I think that after Christ finished his work and the higher ups, the powerful men of the day, like Emperor Constantine and many others, I think they looked around and they had their councils and they said, the people are gonna focus great amount of attention to the Gospels. So we better make these Gospels work for us. We need to change a few things. And that's what I think happened. That's why I think there's so many discrepancies. Now, I can't prove that. I mean, I probably could prove that. I'd probably ask the Father and I know he'd give me an answer. I have never asked him about that. But because, I mean, really, like I said, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. We're all saved and we're all going to heaven anyway. So uh, it doesn't really, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. It just don't. So maybe that's why I've never asked him, because I've never really, I see the things and I have discernment, and I can tell what the real from the fake when it comes to the Bible. I don't know if it's because I've read it so many times, or if it's because I read it with a clear mind and spoke to God and prayed to Him as I read it. I don't know. It's just something I'm capable of, and I haven't always had those capabilities. They came much later in life. With age comes wisdom, and there, I get kind of, I don't think frustrated is really the word I want to use, but I kind of makes me sad that people today are still waiting for Christ to return, when He said in His own words it would happen in that generation, that some of them standing there would see Him return in all His glory before they tasted death. And yet still people are waiting around for some glorious thing to happen. Kind of like the Jews were waiting around for the Messiah to come in with 100 battalions of angels and just wipe out all their enemies and just rule. That's what they thought. But He didn't. He came in with a whisper. Very few even knew. And when He started preaching, telling everybody, the higher ups, the ones that had to hold on to that power, just couldn't let it go. They ain't the Messiah. Just like their fathers had said, you ain't a saint, you ain't a prophet, and killed them. It's the same thing. Same thing. Back on shame, too. But anyway, I guess that's, I'm not gonna go on and on tonight. I just wanted to get on and tell everybody happy 4th of July, and I hope y'all stay safe and love one another. Tell each other how much you care about each other, and love on your kids and your spouses and your parents. Just love. Love is the one thing. That's the one thing that can defeat anything. Love can defeat anything. Light is the only thing that can drive out the darkness. So just remember that. Don't fight evil with evil. It's just such a waste of your energy. And you could be using that to set a great example for your children. And I just, I'll digress. I'm gonna get off here. I love you all. Thank you all for tuning in, and I will say peace out till I see you next time. Thanks for watching.